Welcome to Saffy Says, the podcast that is going to shift your mindset from surviving to thriving. I'm Dr. Saffy Says, a medical doctor, mom of two, and your guide on this journey to a happier, healthier you. Now, life can be such a struggle for a woman, and as somebody who balances medicine and motherhood, I know firsthand what those challenges look like. It's so easy to get caught up and lose your identity. But here's the good news. If you are looking to prioritize yourself and reclaim your power, then you've come to the right place. I've got just what the doctor ordered, so stick around. Let's explore all things self-love, self-care, and self-discovery. This is Saffy Says. Let's get into it. Okay, so welcome to the first episode of what I hope to be a long-lasting podcast that certainly is gonna stick around. It's gonna be here forever. From the title, you already know what we're gonna be discussing today. You already know what we're exploring. Let's talk about how to be a bitch. And I know the title might be jarring, but here's the thing. I'm redefining the word, or rather I am tapping into an alternative definition of the word, because you know what, that word has such a negative connotation, and I think it's one of the things that's pretty interesting. Isn't it so funny how the definition of that word changes when a man or when a person is talking about a woman that might be headstrong or confident? You know, like, she's called a bitch. Why is that? Why is it that as soon as you start to stick up for yourself or you start to defend yourself, a negative word has to be used to describe you? Let's just own it. Okay, and what? Yeah, I'm a bitch. Let's talk about it. How to be a bitch. This is your blueprint for confidence and self-empowerment. So I'm gonna start. Let me share something with you guys. Many years ago in college, and for the people who are watching and not listening, you see I have a glass of red wine here because we need wine. We're talking about all the things and we need to dive into it. So if you're watching along with me, grab some wine, unless of course you're listening because you're driving or you're otherwise busy, then please don't. But I want to share a book with you, a book I discovered in my early years, and it has been a staple in terms of my personality, my confidence, who I am as a person, how I interact with people. It has largely shaped a lot of those things, and I want to share that with you. And that's this book. Those of you who know me from college days, you might have seen me walking around with this, and I know a lot of persons used to see it and the judgment was so real. But this is Why Men Love Bitches by Sherry Argrove, who is a French writer, a French-American writer, and I'm telling you, this book is magic. Now, she targets women who are looking to boost their confidence and looking to, you know, change their personalities and how they interact with men to secure a man. It says, from doormat to dream girl, a woman's guide to holding her own in a relationship. But this was never about the relationship for me. What I loved was the self-empowerment, you know, the power that she spoke about, just like boosting your confidence and having a high self-esteem and just how to carry yourself as a woman. And I think lots of the principles that she explored in that book are so important in just regular day-to-day interactions. So I want to talk about some of it. This is how Sherry defines a bitch: a woman who won't bang her head against the wall obsessing over someone else's opinion, be it a man or anyone else in her life. She understands that if someone does not approve of her, it's just one person's opinion, therefore it's of no real importance. She doesn't try to live up to anyone else's standards, only her own. And I think that's so beautiful. I think that's so beautiful, and I think that is so important. I was scrolling through it not long before turning on this camera, and it's so funny because I saw a woman. I was reading the wildest thread. She basically said, let me take a sip of this wine because trust me guys, it was so hilarious. She says, she started by saying, I don't go above or beyond for men anymore. And I was like, what? This is funny. Let me see what this is about. So I tapped on it and I continued reading, and she basically said she had a boyfriend that she lived with and she was doing the most. Like, I was reading it like, clearly I am half a woman, because she was waking up. She said she used to wake up, she used to make his breakfast, she used to lay out his clothes for work, she used to go in the bathroom and run the shower so that the water would be hot by the time he stepped in. In the winter time, she would, you know, use the remote to start the car so the car would be warm before he got to the car. Like, she was literally doing the most, and he cheated on her. Same way. And I'm not laughing at her pain, don't get me wrong, but it's just, it aligns with a lot of what Sherry talks about in this book about how you should carry yourself. I remember reading this book, and there's a part in there when she says, if you're in the early stages of, you know, dating a man, and he's gonna say something like, oh, what's for dinner, or are you gonna make me dinner? She's like, yeah, make me some dinner. Popcorn, hot dog. Give him something so gross or so jarring that he will never ask you that question again. Because who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Like, the power that is in that book, I think is an important read for every woman, and it's 10,000% recommend. But again, I want to talk about today's topic, which is how to be a bitch. Blueprint for confidence and self-empowerment. And the first thing I want to talk about, so I outline what I think are 5 important steps in just stepping into your true self, boosting your confidence, and just accepting who you are. You know, I think these are my 5 headlines, and I want to explore them. So the first thing is own who you are. Owning who you are means just embracing yourself, your qualities, your imperfections, your appearance. And it doesn't mean that you're gonna not improve yourself, because, you know, you should constantly be working on yourself. But owning who you are means you're not gonna allow anybody else to tear down who you are. You're not gonna try to become somebody else because of any self-doubt or any insecurities. You're gonna say, okay, this is who I am, and this is how I'm gonna rock it. You know, like, I am this person, and so what? Like, this is my personality. Some of us sometimes, you know, might have like a weird hobby or a weird interest, for example, and you might want to like dumb that down or shy away from that because of judgment. Other people might laugh, you know, like, here I am right now sitting drinking wine on YouTube. I know there might be people who are saying like, who is she even talking to? Her 200 subscribers, but I literally don't care. Like, this is something that I'm doing for me, and I literally don't care. So that's like a literal real life example I can use. So to own who you are, I think you need to identify who you are. Like, you can't own something that you have no idea what it is. And I think a lot of us are literally lost. Like, we have no identity, we don't know who we are as people, and that's why it's so easy to be misled. So ask yourself, who am I? What are your core values? What do you stand for? What are you passionate about? What, you know, like, empowers you, or like, what is fire in your soul? What excites you? Like, who even are you? Because I think until we can realistically answer that question, a lot of us are lost, and you can't own something that you can't even identify. And I think a daily affirmation that I want us to practice from this point is, I am enough just as I am. You are enough just as you are. Acknowledge where you are in life, embrace it for what it is while you're working on getting to the next step, and celebrate the small wins. This is so important to boost self-esteem, because sometimes comparison can be such a thief of our joy, and you're looking at where you are now and you're thinking about where you are versus maybe somebody that's the same age or somebody that's from the same background, and you start to doubt that. Just own who you are. Like, embrace your journey, accept where you are right now. You're building, you know, and you're working on yourself, but you're owning here and now, and you're rocking it. Step 2, the importance of alone time. Embrace your solitude. Embrace your solitude. I'm gonna share a story. I remember I was, you know, chatting to this guy that fancies me a little bit, and he literally was like, hey, what are you doing? And I remember I had made some plans, like I wanted to do this and that and that, and I kind of outlined my day. You guys know I tend to plan, and I will sometimes plan my day down to the hour. I mean, it doesn't always stick to that, but I will literally say, okay, from 6 to 10 I want to be doing this, from 10 to 11 I'm gonna eat lunch, from 11 to 12 or 11 to, you know, like I will outline every step of the day. So I have plans. I made plans with myself. And I was like, oh, nothing, I'm at home, I plan to do some reading. I'm gonna get some reading done, and then I'm gonna do this or whatever. What's up with you? And it's like, oh, like, you're home alone? Like, that's so boring. Come over. No, I have plans. Did you not hear me? Like, a lot of times, and I've been here before, I can have this conversation because I've learned from the mistake. Like, a lot of times, some of us, we haven't gotten to a place where we can sit with ourselves, and that is how you get yourself in trouble. That is how you get yourself being a follower. That is how you get yourself begging for acceptance or begging to be in somebody else's space, because you haven't embraced your solitude. Like, solitude is not, you know, like being desolate. It's not loneliness. It's not a bad, like, it's an opportunity to just sit with your thoughts, recharge, reflect. You can do some journaling, and that's an important tool for self-empowerment. You can catch up on some things you need to do. You can work on a hobby, because a lot of times a lot of us are unhappy because we have no outlet. Like, work is stressful, or school is stressful, life is hard, maybe momming is hard, your career sucks right now because you're not quite where you need to be, and you have no release. Sit with yourself sometimes and embrace a hobby. You know, go for a walk or do some painting, pick up, I don't know, buy some clay and do some pottery. Like, just sit with yourself or do some journaling. Like, practice mindfulness and affirmations, and just embrace your solitude. That also relates to step 1, because until you learn to be comfortable alone, you're never gonna have the self-esteem it takes to rock who you are. You know, if you always feel like you need somebody, then you're always gonna need somebody. And, you know, like, from a science standpoint as well, like, literally, trust me, I'm a doctor. Science literally proves that, like, people who have gotten comfortable with being by themselves, or people who have, like, mastered solitude, are more creative. Solitude enhances, like, your creativity. It allows your body to, like, emotionally regulate. It, you know, like, improves your critical thinking, and it makes you a better problem solver. You just need to become more comfortable with yourself so that your mind can be at ease. Like, it's such a beautiful thing. I cannot recommend enough. 10 out of 10 recommend it. Now, the third point I want to share with you guys is the art of saying no. And let me tell you, ooh, as a former people pleaser, peep this. Listen, let me cook right now. As a former people pleaser, this is one of the hardest things to do. If you are naturally somebody that your love language might be serving, or, you know, like, servitude and wanting to, like, be gift giving or giving to people, this is hard. Because, and you know what, life is full of takers, and if you have not developed or mastered the art of saying no, your cup is always going to be empty. Maybe never have empty cups in 2025. Your cup is always going to be empty, because you're going to give and give and give. And if you never know how to say no, then the takers are going to take and take and take. There are people around us and people in our lives that will take advantage of your inability to say no, or your willingness to always help, or your self-sacrifice. Because a lot of us sometimes, you know, like, I'm telling you, like, I've been there. Even now, like, I have to give myself reminders, and this is where affirmations come in. Because when I care about a person, I want to make them happy so bad that I will self-sacrifice. And sometimes, like, I have to remind myself, you know what? I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna say no, because maybe you have plans. Maybe you had something else that you need to do with your time, and you don't want to, but you don't want to say no because you don't want them to be unhappy with you. Understand that being selfish as well. I'm not telling you guys to be an asshole. I'm not sending you out in the world to be mean. I'm also not saying that you can't sacrifice your time or your energy or a physical thing for somebody that you love or care about. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to know, you know, like what the line is. Boundaries are a part of self-care. Keep that. Boundaries are a part of self-care, and you need to know when to say no. Sometimes you need to say no because you need to protect your time, you need to protect your energy, you need to prioritize something else. Like, there are times when, like, I can use a work example, you know, like as a doctor, I'll work duties, I'll work on-call shifts, and I'm working 32 hours straight non-stop. Somebody asking me to do something after a shift like that, I'm telling you, I'm tired, I'm low energy, like I need to recharge and I need to refuel. And sometimes, like, you need to say no. Whether it's no to staying back late to do something on behalf of somebody, or no to, you know, like I'm a creative and sometimes people may want me to do things or make things or design things, and it's hard sometimes because you care about a person, but at some point you have to say, okay, this is the line. I need to prioritize my time and my energy right now so that I can be my best self. And you can use kind language, you know, like you don't have to shoot people down in a rude way. You can say, I can't commit to that right now. I don't have the capacity to do that right now. You know, like, that's not something I'm able to do at this time. And you can offer an alternative. Again, I'm not sending you out in the world to be so selfish that you're all for yourself, because that's not what life is about either. But it's so important for us to just embrace and understand that, like, saying something, like saying no to something that does not align with you and your plans and your state of being is saying yes to yourself. Saying no to something that does not align with you is saying yes to yourself. And also, you don't have to offer an explanation, and that's something I also tend to do. Like, I will explain till I over explain, just because I feel bad, and sometimes I have to, like, mentally check myself, like, no is enough, like no is okay, full stop, like no is a complete sentence. And until we can, you know, get to a point where we understand that declining to do things or declining to self-sacrifice is self-love and is self-care, then you're going to constantly be drained and overworked, and just like your battery's gonna always need charging. No is a complete sentence. Boundaries are a form of self-care, and you just have to master the art of saying no. No, this one is gonna be so controversial, but 2025 is gonna be the year that I match energy. I'm matching energy. 2025 is gonna be the year that I'm matching everybody's energy. And I mean, this is like a double-sided coin, if you will, because what does matching energy even mean? I'm matching energy in a positive way, and I'm matching energy in a negative way. And this is what I mean by that. Growing up, you know, like in my formative years, like high school and so on, like one thing that has stuck with me in adulthood, and I still embrace that, is something my daddy used to always say. My dad used to always say, like, if there was ever a scenario where he thought that maybe I was associating myself with somebody that isn't necessarily, you know, like a Jamaican people will know, like the wrong crowd, or, you know, your parents will say stuff like that. My dad used to always say, you know, you should aim to be the worst one in your group of friends. And he wasn't saying that in a way to put me down, and I understood that, you know, we had such a beautiful relationship that I knew what he meant. So somebody just taking those words at face value, you might misunderstand. It's not that you're not good enough. That's not what he's saying at all. Obviously, like, I was the apple of my dad's eye. Like, of course, that's not what he's saying. But what he's saying is you want to surround yourself with people who you can learn from. Surround yourself with people worth you investing your time in. People who can go towards your development, whether it be, you know, like, for example, using school. Maybe it's going to be people who are good at something and I can learn a skill from them, or can learn a particular subject and be better at it from them. People who, you know, might be from a certain background, and by that I don't mean like uptown versus not uptown or whatever. I mean people who maybe have a certain exposure so that I can learn through them. Because the next thing my dad used to always say is you don't have to make every mistake for yourself. Which is why if you're listening to this, learn from my mistakes. You don't have to make every mistake for yourself. You can learn from somebody else's mistake. Matching energy means surrounding yourself with people who support you, people who uplift you, people who can pour into you, and then you can also, you know, give off your positive attributes and pour into them, and you can develop a beautiful relationship. You want to invest in relationships that reciprocate your time and your effort. When I tell you, I entered 2025 with far less friends than I previously had. And I'm absolutely okay with that. I'm actually shocked at how okay I am with that. Because I thought, you know, like I would have grieved a lot of those relationships a lot more. And I'm so okay with it. And I think it's because for a long time leading up to the severance, I just had some friends that you don't want to fill your life with people who are gonna make you feel less than. You don't want to fill your life with people who only appreciate you when you have something to offer or something they can take. You know, like that's draining. People like that take advantage of your kindness, and people like that, you know, manipulate and abuse, and they drain your energy. So that's where matching energy comes in. I fall back so fast if you make me feel like I'm an inconvenience. I fall back so fast if you make me feel like I'm bothering you or I'm pushing up myself on you and you don't really want to spend time with me. Like, I'm gonna fall back so fast. And I found myself in a situation where, because of history, you know, like I stuck around longer than I needed to, and I'm not doing that. And I'm telling you now, like, when you make the decision to match energy, whew, be prepared to be the bad guy. Because people are so used to you being the people pleaser and always being present and just always sticking around, that, or they don't expect you to stand up for yourself, that when you do, just be prepared to be the bad guy. But you know what? You have to be willing to step into your villain era for you to grow. You have to be like willing and accept the fact that you will be the villain in a lot of people's story if you intend to improve yourself. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Like, be okay being the bad guy. Seriously. Match energy all 2025 and beyond. Pour into those who pour into you and fall back. Like, be willing to fall back and run so far. Burn every bridge. Run so far from anything that doesn't align with you, from anybody that takes and doesn't give, from anybody that tear you down. You know those friends in your circle that will prey on your insecurity? Like, you're at the table with a guy that friend didn't know say you like. A long time you tell her say you like him, and she know say you feel a little bit insecure about something, and as soon as him sit down at the table, she make a joke about it. Ha ha, kiki, it's not a joke. Run so far from people like that. It's not a joke. Stay away from people like that. Learn to walk away from people who tear you down, people who drain your energy, people who take advantage of your kindness. And ask yourself, do some serious reflection at the end of this episode, because you will not grow unless you cut off everything that is holding you back. And and whether it's friend, family member, could even be your mother, distance yourself until you can remove them. Anything that doesn't serve you and your purpose, anything that drains you, anything that, ask yourself, like, who in your life right now drains you, and who in your life energizes you, who pours into you, who celebrates you, who uplifts you. And spend more time with those people, embrace those people, and run so far and so fast from the people who take advantage of you. Make sure you're willing to adjust your boundaries, because I'm telling you, the glow up, you know, like sometimes, you know, when them say you have to take a step back before you take 10 forward, like the glow up is gonna come and it's gonna be so real. But you have to be prepared to cut off everything that doesn't serve you. And lastly, this is my last and final point. So point number 1 was own, the O-W-N, own who you are. And now I want to say own who you are, H-O-N-E. What does this mean? We're talking about growth and development. Owning who you are means embracing self-improvement while staying true and authentic to yourself. Like, you know, the live, laugh, love kind of quote will say, you are a work in progress. Like, it's cliched, but it really is. Like, you are a work in progress. And until death, and I will always say this in joke, but it's so serious. Like, unless you're dead, you have to be willing to continue to improve. Like, there is no maximum. So until your last breath, it doesn't have to be at the same skill, but you have to be willing to learn and re-educate yourself and expand your knowledge and expand your skill and just pour into yourself and develop. You have to be willing to embrace like continuous growth. Like, a lot of ways, you know, like if you're not really sure like where you even are in life, like you can start by setting goals that align with your values and your vision. Again, point number one, we talk about just knowing who you even are. What are your values? You know, like I made a video where I did my vision board for 2025. When you finish listening to this podcast, you can go on the channel and check that out, because I speak so highly of a vision board. It's such a powerful tool in terms of growth and self-development and hitting targets, and just also like keeping yourself on track and being accountable to who you are and what you want to achieve. So set goals that align with your ideal self. You know, we're talking about self-development here. Empowerment comes with self-development as well, because the more, it's easy to have a high self-esteem if you love who you are. And it's easy to love who you are if who you are is close to, you know, the ideal self that you have. Like, sit with your thoughts and ask yourself, like, what does the ideal me look like? Like, what would you want your ideal or perfect life to look like? And then ask yourself what steps you need to take to get close to that ideal self. You know, like invest in learning new skills, explore new passions. I spoke about developing hobbies. Like, also, it's so important if you have like a trusted friend or a mentor. You know, maybe if you're talking about career, you can look at somebody in your field that can help you develop and you know, like expand your depth in your career, give you tips on how to grow and advance in your career. Like, invest into that. Some YouTube University you know, like has so many opportunities. You have like paid programs as well that you can tap into. But also, like, maybe it's a former teacher or lecturer, or maybe it's just like your current boss is somebody that you look up to. You know, network so that you can meet people who, you know, like are at a point in their career where maybe you see yourself being at, say, and ask them like, what did you do at my age, or what steps did you take, or how can I get to where you are? Or, you know, like, not everybody's going to be willing to help, but until you ask, you don't even have a chance. And a reflection question from this point is, what one area of your life would you like to improve? How can you start working on that area of your life to improve it today? Like, what can you do right now without even spending a dime? Just what one thing you can do to grow? Today we spoke about being a bitch. We spoke about confidence and embracing who you are, and I gave you the blueprint. I gave you the 5 points you need to take. You know, I'm gonna end this episode here. I'm gonna tap off for today because I don't want to make it too long. But always remember, never skip your daily dose of self-love. And if you want to heal yourself after failure, then consistency is the only medicine. Now here is your weekly prescription.